use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Reach scores! Yes! She got up! He's just perfect. And that's sweet it is! Collingwood win the grand final. It's time!
Well, welcome back, guys, to another episode of Racing Xtra, proudly brought to you by EMF and Corpshaw. Luke, we have made it 17 episodes in our lucky last for the year.
Who'd have thought, hey? Who'd have thought?
No, we've done very well, and it's honestly so exciting that we've made it this far and that the business has grown so much in such a short period of time that we can welcome a new face to the company. I have been doing my best to wrap my head around combat sports, but I'm so glad that we have an expert joining us, Lily Hines. Welcome to Racing X.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Pleasure. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I think anyone watching this might wonder, are you a boxer? Are you a fighter?
Yeah, that honestly is very commonly said to me. People don't really expect it, which is a good thing, maybe in a dangerous situation.
Yeah.
Maybe someone wouldn't know that I could protect myself, which is really good. But yeah, so I've been training in mixed martial arts, MMA, for about 5 years now.
Wow.
So it's a combination. I've got boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, kickboxing.
Oh, lovely.
Jesus.
Any,
Bit of everything.
Any intentions of stepping in the ring and having a fight?
So initially when I started, because I just immediately fell in love with it. So that was my goal. My goal was actually to do this professionally. So I got in there a little bit. I did a few competitions, tournaments, mainly in K1. I did one MMA tournament. But then, it does take up so much of your time. It's not easy, the training. It's
Insane. Mine's more the getting hit in the face part that I was like, not for me.
Same with you
Not
there.
the training I could maybe do, but like getting someone swinging full pelt at my face, I'm like, nah, I'd rather sit on the couch.
Well, I mean, when you're sparring your teammates, it's never that serious. It's different in competition. When you're actually in a fight, it's for sure different. The ones I've done, you wear a headgear, so you're still protected. But yeah, it's actually not as bad as you would expect.
I'm sure it's
In
an
the gym.
adrenaline rush.
Oh, I can only
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah.
What actually got you into it? Like, is it a family tie or just something you grew into?
No, so no one in my family's into martial arts at all. My grandma was actually like mortified when she found out what it was that I was doing.
But they were wrapped, absolutely wrapped.
Yeah, she was just like, what? Like cage fighting? Like, why are you doing this?
Like gladiators, but worse.
Yeah. Yeah. So honestly, I just got into it through watching it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So obviously long time UFC fan and then took the step into swinging yourself.
Yeah.
How old were you when you got into it? You look quite young.
So I was, I believe, 21,
Oh, wow.
21.
Yeah, most
So
people get into it as kids.
as kids, yeah. So I've actually come into this quite late.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas most fighters will be doing this their whole life if if their parents get them into it or if they have a background in martial arts.
How did the transition come? Obviously, you do a bit of reporting for Eternal MMA, is that right? So
Yeah.
How did you find that transition from actually being in the ring and training yourself to then reporting?
It's really surreal actually because it is an obsession of mine and I was following the fighters' journeys anyway. So when I did get the opportunity to work for Eternal, which is such an amazing promotion, it was really surreal. So I love it. I enjoy it.
What's your highlight been so far with them? I'm sure you've been to some insane fights.
Yeah, probably going to Perth. So the night before the UFC in Perth, Eternal also has a show. And they're in a massive arena over in Perth. So definitely that. It's fun to have the double fight nights.
Yeah.
You've got Eternal on the first night, UFC on the second. And it's pretty common for fighters on Eternal to then transition into the UFC. So it's always really nice to see, their journey from the beginning to then making it to the world's biggest stage.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, Luke.
I was going to say, any favourite fighters or anyone on the bucket list to interview or stick a mic in front of?
Oh, fighters? Any of the champs, really, any of the pound for pound champs, Alex Volkanovski or
You got
Alex Pereira, any of those guys. But my dream would actually to be interview Bruce Buffer. He's not a fighter, but he's the
that's
announcer.
cool.
Might have to try and get Stel to reach out and
Yeah.
We
make
might
a
have,
little connection
we
for
might
you.
have some pull here somewhere.
Yeah.
Send a text, boss.
I mean, and how could you not want to speak to Joe Rogan as well?
Oh, of
or Dana
course.
White himself.
That'd be mine. I actually got a story. A mate of mine was in Vegas a couple of months ago, and he's ringing me at like stupid o'clock. I'm like, it's 4 a.m. Like, what are you doing? Like 4 a.m. over there. And he picks the phone up on FaceTime, and he's got Dana White at the blackjack table. I was like, what happened?
You're
he goes,
kidding me.
Yeah, he went to the slap fights.
Oh, power slap.
The power slap fights.
Yeah.
Ended up at in a booth with a Conor McGregor lookalike.
Oh.
And from there, he goes, it was a whirlwind blur, and ended up at a blackjack table with Dana White and Cowboy Cerrone. And I went,
No way.
is that one of your better nights? He goes, well, it was wild. Cost me a lot of money, but it was wild. So I was like,
imagine.
I've learned the hard way that always answer his phone calls.
Yeah, definitely.
God,
Don't
that
want to
is
miss that one.
nuts. What is, on that note, like you were saying, a lot of the Eternal fighters, they sort of hopefully try and make their way into the UFC.
Yeah.
How would you explain that process to someone like myself who has no clue about how that all works and how you build yourself up in the UFC arena?
Yes, so previously it was a bit easier to just straight up be either scouted or signed directly to the UFC from Australian promotions. Now it is a little more, there's a bit more to the process now. So generally you'll have to go through Dana White's Contender Series. And so you're fighting someone on there. Dana's there himself.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's
Which
what
is
Jack Jenkins did.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
That is
Yeah.
how Jack Jenkins got into the UFC, yes.
Yeah.
I was watching a thing Dana actually was presenting it about how the UFC blew up, and the Contender Series was one of the things that made it become so big, because they had the following and the popularity, but they didn't have like the week in week out channel. And like you can search it on YouTube and bring it up, but the fact that they went everywhere at the start to go, where can we put this on a TV channel or where people can view it every day, and no one wanted them, and they ended up signing a contract like over a dinner table at a channel that no one heard of, and then it went for like 6 weeks or 12 weeks, whatever it is, and then everyone wanted them, and then UFC is the brand that it is today. So
Yeah.
I find it weird that the thing that lets the fighters feed into the UFC is the thing that really blew the UFC up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
fascinating. Hey, and the UFC's overtaken boxing in terms of popularity by lengths over the last few years, and it's obviously a lot to do with Dana and Joe Rogan's involvement.
Absolutely. Dana completely changed this sport. He made it into what it is today. So, I mean, when you think about when the UFC first started, it was still mixed martial arts, but you'd have guys you'd have jiu-jitsu guys in gis in there versus someone who's more of a boxer, but now it's become its own sport in a way.
Yeah.
It's funny how it went from like makeshift rings in parking lots to bars to literally the world stage. Like
You can see
they're
why
selling
Grandma
out.
might have had some concerns about you starting.
So, and you can bet on it, so that filters a lot of people like myself into it.
Yes. Yeah.
Through our sponsors, EMF, we have access to a lot of great fighters. And I'm not sure if you saw, we did a little special on Yusuke ahead of his first professional fight.
Yeah.
How do guys like Yusuke sort of find their way up? Obviously, he's got a lot of background with karate.
He does.
How does that then translate to the ring?
Yeah, so he's an extensive background. He's had 1,000 karate fights.
Wow.
Is what we've been told by him. So
Is there mayo on that, or is there
sorry,
is there a little bit of mayo on that?
It might be being a bit dramatic.
maybe. I mean, who knows? But that's the information that we have from him. Yeah, so a platform like Eternal, it's nationwide, one of the biggest. It does reach that same audience. It's streamed through UFC Fight Pass. So, you work your way up as an amateur. He's had his pro debut now, and then you work up the ranks to, ideally becoming champ. Everyone wants to be champ of their division. And then from there, if you're lucky, like Steve Erceg, for example, he was signed the night he won his belt by one of the matchmakers from the UFC. or you could then have the opportunity to go through Dana White's Contender Series and try and get a shot through that.
Yeah, it's such a tough process, a tough sport to really make your mark.
Yeah, it is growing so much and becoming so popular. So, yeah, I guess these processes do need to
I suppose like any professional sport, like everyone wants to be in that 0.01%.
Of
But
course.
it's just great that someone like Eternals put the platform there. Like I was lucky enough to get a few tickets to the one at Southport the other week, and yeah,
You
so
were
I was-
there?
Yeah, I was there. So that's like I was sitting in the front row, singing out a few heckles with the boys. But yeah, it was a bit of fun, and that
Were you
last heavyweight
covering
fight.
I was there, yeah.
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 Well, that's how I know Tanira. So I obviously went to school with Tanira, who's one of the announcers. But yeah,
Yes.
it is a very small world.
It
We
really
didn't meet
is.
that night, but yeah.
No, we didn't.
A couple of weeks later, here we are.
Yeah, you're here.
Oh, how funny. What a small world.
Do you have any fighters for us to follow or anything that you're really pumped up for as we head into 2025?
So, Australian-wise, we do have, well, Anzac-wise, we do have a few guys coming up on the scene. So this weekend, actually, we have Navajo Sterling, who got in through Dana White's Contender Series. We also have Quillen Salkid, he's come from Eternal. Mm-hmm. He is making his UFC debut in Sydney
Oh, wow.
in February.
Yeah, you were going to
So-
try and head down for that, weren't you?
I'd love to get
Yeah.
down. That'll be an
Yeah.
absolute whirlwind
That'd be
weekend.
awesome.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we got any strings that can be pulled out the back here? Any sponsorships? Yeah. Why is the producer looking around? I just need 2 tickets. That's all. We don't need a camera. We just 2 tickets. It's fine. I'll record it on my phone.
We had a bit of a baptism of fire last night. We threw you straight in to cover the Justis Huni fight for us. How was it?
It was amazing. The production of the show last night, the crowd, it was such a good night.
Yeah.
And Justice did so well, second round TKO. You know, we've been following his journey through our doco series.
Yeah.
And it's just so rewarding to see them win.
Absolutely, yeah. And he's got another fight coming up in January.
That's right, January 8th.
Yeah, is that a title fight?
No.
No.
Quick backup, but at least he's dispatched of his opponent last night, so he won't be too tired. So hopefully he can get that win
Yeah.
again in
He
January.
didn't take too much damage,
No.
it didn't seem like. So I think
His face was still very pretty at the end of the
he'll be
end of the
ready to
second
go.
round.
But Justice is kind of, I mean, he's got a history of having really quick turnarounds for his fights. He had, I think it was 3 fights in 3 months.
Even when
Recently.
we had him on the show, I was talking to him about like when he broke his hand or
Yeah.
hurt his hand. He was like, I actually broke at the fight before.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
and
then I
just
had another
powered
fight, and I
through.
was like,
Yeah.
aren't they like your main tools? And he's like, yeah, but I can just keep swinging. I was like, yep, you're a tough man.
God. So what does Justice's next fight look for him? He's obviously struggling to find opponents and whatnot.
Yeah, so his next fight's going to be huge. So it'll be his 12th fight as a pro. He'll be on the same card as Jai Opataya, another massive fight. They're the 2 best boxers coming out of Australia at the moment. So
Wow.
that's going to be a fight night to watch.
I'm sure we can expect a lot of content from you then over that period.
Definitely. We will be covering Jai's journey for his upcoming fight. So definitely stay tuned to see some of that.
exciting.
Be good to see that career progress, and then everyone's on a plane to America for the big one. So
Yeah. And Jai, that this card, January 8th, especially Jai's fight, was so hyped up last night. The memorabilia that was being sold, there was a poster of Jai. It sold for $3,000, I think it was.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Did that sell for more than the Ali poster I heard you guys
It did.
saying before?
It did, yeah.
that's just
nuts.
nuts.
Yeah.
That's actually just nuts.
The Muhammad Ali memorabilia sold for, $2,000 and
Someone got a bargain.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Someone got a bargain.
I wonder if someone was just like out the back, like forging that signature though. That's gold. Well, what can we look forward to with you here at Racing X? What have you got for us?
So, as of course covering all combat related things, we're going to be covering some of the world's biggest events. We do have, so many exciting fight nights coming up within, boxing and MMA, like some that we've just mentioned,
Yeah.
UFC Sydney. We've got January 8th in the Gold Coast for the boxing. IBF world title in Saudi Arabia. So just so many things to look forward to
So
in the
exciting.
new
You're
year.
going to be a busy girl.
Don't be alarmed if you start getting text messages from me on a Sunday that say knockout or submission question mark.
You can give Luke the boxing tips. And he'll
Yeah,
give
so
you the
I'll
racing
trade you.
tips.
Saturday, I'll trade you horse racing tips. And Sunday, you can trade me UFC tips.
Perfect. That sounds good.
Well, on that note, do you get into racing much? Are there any other sports that you love to follow?
So that's where you guys are going to come in and help me with all of your expertise for racing. I actually haven't been to a racing event before.
You've
So
not?
yes,
Okay, you're coming with us.
I can't
I'm
wait.
on at the right time because we're right around the corner from sort of the biggest day
Yeah.
in Queensland. So, or on
Yeah.
the Gold Coast with Magic Millions. And don't worry, I'll teach you how to put a quaddie on before January rolls around. You'll be fine. You'll be
Next year's
fine.
going to be huge for us in both racing and obviously sports and boxing and everything. So it's going to be a huge year of content for Racing X.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Get dressed
excited
up
to
and
welcome you.
have
on
a
board.
champagne and see you at the races.
Perfect.
Well, on that note, Luke, we just got back from a whirlwind trip in Hong Kong. How you feeling?
I feel great today. Yesterday, maybe not so much. And the day before that, I may have needed an IV. But we had two very different trips. Obviously, yours is very much work orientated and mine was very much trying to shut down the Hong Kong tote,
Yeah.
which I did not succeed at. But
You need a bit of luck.
just
there.
nuts. Like, obviously, we got off the plane and went to Happy Valley on the Wednesday. So tell me your experience because I had quite a different one from yours.
Honestly, like my Happy Valley experience was just insane. Have you ever been to Hong Kong, Lily?
I haven't, but
You're coming on our next trip then.
the
I got to
trip
show you.
is insane.
It is just nuts. When you walk out to Happy Valley Racecourse, you kind of walk in and it's like a normal entrance, like it's beautiful marble and wood and it's all beautiful. And then you walk outside and it's just like the backdrop of the city, the track under lights. It was just
It's like the Colosseum
incredible.
for horse racing.
Literally.
No, that's the
Literally.
best way to describe it. And where, sorry to cut you off there, but
You're
where I was sat, a friend of mine got us some tickets in a place called The Beat, which is like a new bar area, and above it is the Vantage, which is the new nightclub on course. So when we walked in there's TV screens everywhere. There's everyone under the age of sort of 30, 35. And there was an AI full screen, like 6 feet by 6 feet touchable TV where you could like put in your desired outcomes of the race, like a wet track or you want good alleys, and it spat out a ticket for you that you could scan on a QR code. So all the boys are in there just, look, I want Zach Purton on one or James McDonald, and I want Barry at 1 to 4, and then just printing out their tickets. So it's just brilliant to see what they do for
nuts.
or what they've done for the next generation.
Yeah.
And just the view and the free flowing cocktails probably helped a little bit too. So.
Absolutely.
How would you compare a racing event in Hong Kong to, say, Australia?
Hong Kong does it better.
Really?
Australian racing's going to cancel me for saying that. Sorry, guys.
Well, I
But like, it was just nuts. We were down, like Racing X, we were down in the beer garden filming, and just the amount of people that were there. It's like 7 p.m. on a Wednesday night. In Australia, you would not get those crowds. And it was packed. The energy was nuts. They had live music. There's a McDonald's in the beer garden. Like,
Of
all
course
of
you
it was
found that.
blowing
I get
my
a text
mind.
message at like 8 o'clock at night. There's a McDonald's here. I was like, I've got 19 beers in front of me. Get me something.
It was just wild. There's like fireworks in between the races. They got a
Wow.
marching band. Like, just, it was theatre for horses.
They do it.
Nuts.
They do it like Australian racing is more traditionalist.
Yeah.
Whereas like you
And
put
they
your
don't
suit
wanna
on, you
change.
go and you have your bet, and it's without trying to sound negative like that. The highlight of Australian racing was that 80s period, and it's got to the point now where the kids or the younger generation, that 18 to 30, want to get involved, but they don't understand racing, or it's not as fun as probably what it should be. It's certainly not the same experience as going to a UFC fight or an NFL event or even the rugby league, and it needs to be toned back to incorporate that new viewership, because I can bring my mates to the race and they end up having a great day, but I've got to teach them about having a bet and this, that, and the other. Whereas if you bring in that headline DJ like they're trying to do after the races, like your Joel Corey or whoever it might be, in the Theatre of the Horse, like you see how packed that is, and a lot of those people are going to the races as a like pre-event to go to those Joel Corrys or those big name DJs, and once you tie all that in, and you make it fun for the whole day, you get 100,000 people at the races.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then all spending money and all pumping into Australian racing.
I think it's going to be quite difficult. We were able to meet up with John Kanga, who's the chairman of the Melbourne Racing Club, and I met him over in Hong Kong, and he was saying that he was obviously taking quite a few notes as to what they can bring back from that model to Australian racing. But personally, I think Australian racing's biggest challenge is the racing fatigue. We race 7 days a week. You can bet everywhere. Whereas over in Hong Kong, you're racing on a Wednesday and a Sunday and everyone's paying attention because you've only got 2 days racing and obviously so much more funding, which makes these big spectacles of it. But in Australia, it is hard to attract an audience when you can just turn it on and it's like the news every day.
Yeah, it's unfortunately got to the point where it's too much, and I don't know what can be done about it. Cause
How do you scale back?
You almost can't scale back without impeding people's lives. So it's in a perfect world, you'd take away all the meetings that probably don't cover themselves or produce enough money, but then you're taking food out of people's mouths. So it's one of those things. We just had that big uproar about New Zealand taking away greyhound racing, and that sort of come out of the blue. So it makes it hard when you're affecting people's livelihoods, but then again, you need to be able to draw people in to make it exciting, because no one really cares about a benchmark 54 in the middle of the country on a Saturday.
No, but some owners out there do, but that is a problem for bigger and smarter people than us.
Yeah, way above my pay grade.
Oh, yeah. But what a day we had at Sha Tin on Sunday, though. History was made, and I just can't believe that. You obviously had a nice chat to James after the races.
Yeah, I did. Obviously, a little sit and steer job for him on a couple of horses, and he's got the privilege of riding Romantic Warrior, and look, he's the best horse in the world. Yeah, best horse in the world at this stage. And I just love that little move. He come out of the back straight and he was on the fence and he popped off. And as soon as he did, I was sitting with the boys and I said, if it wasn't all over, it is now. And it's just what makes him a world-class jockey. And turn the corner and let that horse go. And he showed how good he was. And yeah, I can't wait to see him. He ends up in Dubai in a few weeks' time, or at the end of next month, and then he contests the Saudi Cup, and then back to Dubai for, I believe, either the World Cup or the duty-free race. So I think there's a lot of money in that horse's future, and
Oh yeah,
I'd like
well,
to
he's
be a
broken Golden 60s record as the highest prize money earning racehorse.
He has, and he's not at the end of his career yet. Yeah, for anyone out there that wants to do the maths on what he can pick up in those 3 races.
Oh, it's the top prize money in the world. What's the Saudi Cup is almost $30 million.
Yeah, I might have to ring James and ask him for a loan.
I
think he's good for it if he gets the Saudi Cup home.
We also saw Kai Ying Rising. He finally knocked off his first Group 1, and he's in talks for an Everest, which I would love to see.
So would I, actually, for him to come out to Australia and contest arguably the best sprinters in the world, which Australian racing has.
Yeah.
Look, it's a big task, and I didn't really think that was his first Group 1, like the career that he's had. But yeah, it was surprising to me for that to go down. But it'd be silly for someone not to pick him up with an Everest slot.
100%.
And I think they'll wait to see what he does in Hong Kong in his next couple of starts, and then they'll be fighting over him, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a 6-week let up, and then I think he possibly goes to the Group 1 centenary sprint towards the end of January, and then onto the Hong Kong Classic, and then hopefully we'll see him in Australia. But it'll be interesting. I think they're all going to start riding against him like we saw on the weekend.
Yeah, be pretty hectic. And look, we'll get Zach back in Australia for some rider changes. And yeah, the best in the world will be in Sydney all over again. Yeah,
it's going to be an exciting time. And Lily, I am sorry, we're going to keep talking about the racing. So this is part of your induction into Racing X.
I'm happy to hear all about it.
You'll be an expert in 6 months.
I think I will be. There's one thing I really enjoy about horse racing, actually, and it's the names of the horses. They're so funny. Like, they're so creative all the time.
Where did this come from? Hey? Yeah. We've got Magic Millions coming up in 4 weeks, which I think you'll be up here for, which is exciting. So
yeah, I can't
You'll get a real feel for the racing names then, that's for sure.
If that's going to be your first race day meeting, you're going to be blown away.
Well.
Really?
It's like Nathan, our cameraman. Nath's done Sunshine Coast and then straight to Happy Valley and Sha Tin. He's probably had the best taster into racing that anyone can have.
Just come out in his suit. I was like, strap yourself in, pal. And he just smiled and nodded like this. I was like, welcome to the best day of your life.
Welcome to Hong Kong.
No, I can't wait to see it. I love dressing up, love having a nice day out.
Yeah, it'll be so much fun.
Covering some sport.
It'll be so much fun. We've had a couple of lead-up races into Magic Millions, and we saw the Magic Millions race at Wyong yesterday, Luke, and coming out of that race, Olay and Mimo are now our equal favourites for Magic Millions.
2 big runs, actually. I'm glad because I backed the winner, Olay. But huge run from that horse. And my actual pick this far out is the second horse, Mimo. Storming run home from a tight little track. And yeah, it was an ordinary run from tempestuous, but look, they're 2-year-olds and things can happen over 3 or 4 weeks leading into the millions. So some money's up in the air at the moment. It'll be an exciting race, that's for sure.
Oh, it really is going to be. We've got another qualifying race at Caulfield tomorrow, the Victorian Classic. And the Hayes brothers already have Tycoon Star as the number 1 in order of entry at the moment. But running around tomorrow, they also have Bakash, who's currently number 11. And this horse looks quite classy. It ran second in the 2-year-old race at Flemington. They've decided to put some winkers on this horse. He had an unofficial jump out.
Yeah.
And he looks like he's travelling well. I think they've got a cheeky little horse here.
So do I. Obviously, Williams on board and Barrier 1 helps. And those 2-year-old races, the first 4 out of the gates are usually the first 4 over the line. So if the winkers are on, it just straightens that horse up a bit and keeps it a bit more focused. I think, the writing's on the wall.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, the Hazers know what to do with a good horse too.
The horse in this field that really caught my eye was actually Invincible Woman. This is a Lizzie Jelf's all-ladies syndicate, and she's had no official trials to date. There's nothing quite eye-catching about this horse other than the owners that are in it. We've got, obviously, Lizzie Jelfs herself, the VRC CEO, Kylie Rogers, Lucy the trainer, and Hannah Jennings, who was the managing owner of Away Game. So quite an interesting group of ladies who definitely know how to pick a horse.
Some powerful women in that group, and I know she wasn't cheap at the sales.
Well, $250,000 for an I'm Invincible, it hardly covers the service fee.
Yeah, to be fair, but yeah, if she comes out and wins like on the weekend, or she wins the millions, or even if she picks up that ladies bonus, there's $500,000 on offer for the first 4 across the line, all split up. So look, she could pay for herself very quickly as an early 2-year-old.
100%.
And she's very well owned.
It's a great incentive, that all-ladies syndicate. If you and I were to go in and buy a horse, maybe I'll be able to convince you while you're up here, you get a cash incentive, and it's just brilliant in bringing those new audiences and new owners into racing.
I'll teach you how to put the quaddie on. You'll land it on Saturday, and we can use the winnings to buy a ladies' own horse for next year's million.
Yeah, perfect. Sounds good.
The plan is set.
Well, heading up to Eagle Farm, we have another Magic Millions pathway in the Gold Edition plate. There's a couple of unbeaten horses in this race who I'm really curious to watch go around. We've got Hella Fast from the Kelly Schweida yard, definitely living up to its name, being undefeated so far. Yeah,
definitely. Obviously, they're horses without a great deal of form present or exposed form, but a lot of them got picket fence next to their name. And a mate of mine, Andrew, rides Scripted for Matty Dunn on Saturday, which will probably start favourite, and he's got a high opinion in that horse and definitely thinks it can live up to those classier races coming into millions time.
Yeah, so it's only had 2 wins, obviously, at Lismore and then into Doomben, so this is going to be a real test, but beat Mashani Lily, who's obviously proven herself as quite a handy Queenslander. Yeah,
for sure. And I think this race on Saturday really stamps a mark for these horses going around. So your first 3 over the line will be sort of your first 3 in the market, or looking for your first 3 in the market in those coming races. And I know it's a big test for all of them, but they've all got to step up at some stage, and this is it. This is the deep end, or rolling into the deep end for these horses.
That's it. I'm heading down to Matty Dunn's stable tomorrow to actually catch up with him for our Revving Up for Millions, so I might get some inside word on how that horse will run, and we'll decide if we're putting our bets on.
Let me find out if the 350s is overs or unders. We'll get on. You send me the old bat signal, will you?
Well, our headline act tomorrow at Randwick is a Group 2, the Ingham. Luke, you've got a contender and pretender for this race.
I do. Look, it's Gringotts as my contender. He was last start in the Gong and he proved too good. Wide Alley's weight, don't stop this horse. Tommy back on board. He's got a good alley, and I just can't believe he's sort of around that $4 mark. Like, I think he'll probably short and come towards the race, and he's my one for that.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. I'm glad to see he's drawn a barrier for once, but he's just proven his ability and continues on the onwards and upwards. Who's your pretender in this race?
My pretender for this race is I'm In to Win. Tough alley from 22. No one a gaze, probably has the speed to bounce out and come across, but it's a big ask from out there. And the 2 runs previous, this prep have been good, but this is another step up in class, and I just think be found wanting at the end. And look, you've got 2 nice horses that'll be parked just in behind it in Gringotts and Port Lockroy. So look, it's my pretender this for Saturday.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. With the wide gate, it's going to be a hard task. Now,
Okay.
where are you going for your best bet this weekend?
I'm going to one of your old faithful friends in Annabelle Neesham. The last at Randwick, race 10, number 3, Eye of Fire. Been faultless this prep, stringing 2 together. So probably go around the $5 mark. It's a very competitive field, but yeah, that'll be my get out stakes. And if I can get 5s, I'll be pushing it all in and hoping for the best.
For my best bet this week, I'm heading to Caulfield. This is the Magic Millions 3-year-old and 4-year-olds race. And I'm with our friend, Yes Lulu. Obviously, for anyone who doesn't know, Luke and I's good mate Jared's actually in ownership with this horse. So I'm hoping to get in the good books and get some tips this weekend.
We'll be finding out firsthand. And I just hope I get a little video of him crying if she goes over the line first.
He'll be beside himself. She's obviously, since she's been racing, she's only raced in Group 3 and listed level, and she came back down in class, knocked off that maiden, and I'm hoping for a filly like her, just that confidence boost might be exactly what she needs, and she's stepping up in distance. I think this race is not stepping up in distance. Declan Bates goes on board down in the weights, and I think that's really going to suit.
100%. Look, I think it's her race to win, so we'll be cheering for the big fella, and I know he'll get all nervous come tomorrow night, but yeah, cannot wait.
Can't wait for those winning snaps. Now, I want to know, Lily, do you have any tips for us for the UFC this weekend? Who have you got your eye on?
Well, definitely Navajo Sterling. He's undefeated at the moment. So this will be, apart from Dana White Contender Series, this is his biggest test. So he will for sure be one to watch. And the main event, we've got Colby Covington and Joaquin Buckley. So
Very
that should
exciting.
have fireworks written all over it.
That'll be a
Yeah,
spark
definitely.
fest for sure. So we've got our crosscodes multi going on. So once we'll drag that in the quaddie, and then the ladies' horses up for grabs.
Then we'll be cheering. Well, we are so pumped to have you on board, Lily, and can't wait to introduce you to the rest of the team. We've also got Sasha Cassidy on board, who came to Hong Kong with us. We had the best time with her, and I think I have heard through the grapevine we might have some more people to introduce to our audience soon and to introduce to you as well.
I can't wait to meet the rest of the team, and I'm so happy to be on board with you guys.
We're so pumped, and you've got a lot of good content coming in for us. Can you just give us a little sneak peek as to what might be coming?
Yeah, so we've got all combat sports covered. We've got contact sports such as the NRL covered. We've got lots to look forward to in the new year.
Be a big 2025,
It's
isn't
going to
it?
be huge. As well as
Connor once said, we're not here to take part, we're here to take over.
Well, Luke and Lily, thank you both so much for joining me for our very last episode of the year of Racing Xtra. It's time to head into the silly season and all put on a couple of Christmas kilos.
Yeah, can't wait for my presents.
Who said you're getting any?
Just a bunch of betting tickets will be fine.
Yeah, I know how to make it happen.
He's very easy.
Well, Racing X is done and dusted for the year, but stay tuned on our socials because we will still be pumping out that content that we know you love. Racing Xtra is proudly brought to you by Corpshaw and EMF Australia. Like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast for a next-gen racing and sports experience.